Welcome back to the X Podcast. I am here at the Carlson table, across from Mr.
The Tucker Carlson table?
It's been an evolution between the Putin table to the Putin Carlson table to the Carlson table.
Gotcha.
Mr. Moore, how are you?
Good. How are you, Mr. Moore?
I'm doing well.
I just got off the phone with another Mr. Moore.
Who's that?
Not related. I don't know.
Jessica Moore?
Nope.
Who?
Another Moore.
That's not true.
It is. Absolutely. The guy I was just talking to in my office. His name's Moore.
Oh, the arbalist.
Yeah. I don't think they go by arbalist.
Oh.
But arborist.
I thought it was arbalist.
Arborist.
Oh, it's arborist.
Not
Are
an
you sure?
arbor. Yeah. An arbor is.
Lydia, this is where you do need a mic. Do you want to fact check us? Which one? Arbalist or arborist?
I'm pretty sure it's an arborist.
Okay. Well, if
I'm about 98% sure I'm correct.
tell you what, if Pastor Tim is right, don't let us know. But if I'm right, send us a text too.
What is an arbalist?
Listen, our people don't care. You hold on a sec. You want to know why?
An arborist is a tree surgeon. An arborist, tree surgeon, arboriculturist is a professional in the practice of arboriculture.
Wait, honestly, you want to know?
It's an arborist.
Not that anybody cares. You want to know why I thought it was an arbalist?
An herbalist.
No, it's because los arbolists is trees in Spanish.
Oh.
So arbol is tree in Spanish. So in my mind, I translated
They probably
it to,
come from the same Latin word where the English we get arbor.
Yep. So that makes sense. In my mind, I was thinking in Spanish.
Yeah, sometimes you just think in Spanish. I get it.
I do.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So it's been a fun week. It has been in the 60s and 70s a couple days.
What week are you talking about? The week this episode comes out, or the week last week week before we record
the last
this?
week in real time from now week.
Because if the week you're referring to is last week, and then we record this week, but it's not released till next week, I think we'll be a little off.
As we talk today, it's March 6th, for context.
We are recording this a little bit ahead.
Sunday and Monday, I went for runs and walks in the park, and it was
heaven.
Beautiful.
So good.
Gorgeous.
Loved it. We did a cookout at the office, impromptu. So nice.
Yes.
Let's do hot dogs and chill outside.
It was amazing. Listen,
Vitamin D.
Global warming is real. I just saw a report that said the Arctic Circle may not have ice in 10 years, but if I can have a cookout in February, early March in Columbus, Ohio.
I keep telling you, global warming might be bad for some places. It's not bad for Ohio.
It's not bad for Ohio.
No wonder everybody's moving here.
Yeah, which is ironic because, you and I, we just went on a trip to the West Coast. We spent about 4 days in L.A., 3 days.
Well,
about 3 days in L.A.
We'll get there Wednesday.
We got there Wednesday night, left Saturday.
Yeah.
Two full days.
It felt like a lot.
I know
it felt like it was about 8 days, and because we did a lot.
But they're still paying high taxes for this new weather they're experiencing called rain. And
I'm not really sure if we can blame rain on global warming. I think it's got to rain some days.
Well, no, but they've had an unusual amount of rain. Yeah. I mean, you and I walked past places that were actually flooding.
Dude, my shoes got wet.
Mine too.
So terrible.
And that was in the middle of Hollywood going into a coffee shop.
Yeah, where was that?
It was
by Spyglass. That's not Hollywood. Where was that?
Spyglass in the middle of Hollywood.
Oh, it is?
Yes.
I didn't realize that was Hollywood.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, it was I don't know. I don't know if it's global warming. I don't know what it is. I got to imagine they have rain, but I wonder if this year's cycle is the El Nino.
Mm-hmm.
And it's creating a drier, warmer winter for us, but I wonder if it's creating a wetter winter, cooler maybe even for the West Coast. I don't know.
Wetter winter. Say
wetter
that
winter.
3 times.
Wetter winter. I can't.
By the way, just
and it was not. Can we just say the temperature and the atmosphere? I felt like it was in Ohio the whole time.
Oh, I know.
It was cloudy, overcast, and rain 2 out of the 4 days. That we were there.
I mean, there's some pockets of sun which were glorious. Yeah. And listen, anytime you're driving by. And you got the Hollywood Mountains in the back, and you're going past palm trees. I mean, it's glorious.
You took a lot of pictures of palm trees, I want to say.
You not just as much as you?
I took like 2 or 3, but I feel like
4
you
or
took
5.
about.
No, I took the scenery. When you go to Venice Beach, there's just nothing like those iconic moments, those iconic scenes. Making fun of my palm trees.
No, you're like my wife when it comes to palm trees. She sees a palm, she'll take pictures.
You know,
of
it's
a lot
funny.
Of palm trees.
It's never in Florida or anywhere else. But there's something about Southern California climate and how picturesque it all is.
I actually think the palm trees and the scenery of the palm trees in Florida is better. I think the actual the palm trees look more authentic in Florida, and maybe that's because most of them have been transplanted to California. I think And it probably has a little bit more of the tropical feel just because of the humidity. So, you get there and it kind of feels.
Yeah, maybe
like
it's the connotation in my mind because I like the rocky, exotic coast.
Yeah,
West Coast, and
But I think palm trees, I think of Florida more than I think California. I agree.
But y'all are Florida people. Y'all are Florida a lot.
Well, it's a lot closer.
It is
warmer.
closer.
And warmer.
Oh,
and less rain.
Look, hey, two quick news things, and then I just thought it'd be fun just for a minute to chat about our trip because it was such a great trip. 2 pieces of news.
Yeah.
Nikki Haley this morning dropped out of the
didn't.
presidential campaign. She suspended
Do you know why?
her campaign.
I think we all know why she suspended and did not drop out.
Well, the news article said because of how much she was beat on Super Tuesday.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure the reason why you suspend your campaign after you've been beat as badly as she is because you want to make sure you are the front runner if a certain somebody is not allowed to and is behind bars.
I agree.
So I think the whole reason why it's a suspension and not dropping out is
I agree.
Just in case there's no one else, I'll be happy to step in.
I did think about that.
That's why I think it was suspended.
Yep, I did think about that.
In fact, that's what she told me when she texted me.
Did she? Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Zach said she texted him too.
Well, I gave her Zach's number. He was wanting to talk to her for a long time.
And then did you see Vladimir Zelensky was almost hit by a Russian missile today?
No.
He was on a train, or no, he was in some sort of what do you call it? A cavalcade, a little caravanserai on the way to Odessa to meet with the prime minister there, the Greek prime minister there. And a Russian missile hit 300 yards away. And
wait, where were they? On what soil? He was on his way, but they were in Ukraine.
I assume.
There's no way a Russian missile hit 300 yards away from him while he was in Greece.
No, I said he was on the way.
Okay, that's why I didn't know where though. I'm like,
I don't know.
That would be major news if you get a Russian missile hits in Greece.
Yeah,
then we're in big trouble.
But it still was pretty big news. I mean, he almost took out.
Yeah.
I mean, the leader of Ukraine.
You think it was like just we think maybe he's over here, or you think it was just happenstance? They just were firing a rocket there.
I don't know.
Interesting. No, I did not hear that.
Yep.
I was working today.
You were working today?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. So you don't pull up Apple News when you're going to the restroom. Well, you don't go to the restroom. Actually, take that back. Sorry.
Yes.
Okay. I'm not going to go there. Okay. So we took a trip to LA. Kind of. I love these kind of weird serendipitous ways that certain trips take place and form. Because you and I right now are supposed to be on our way to Atlanta.
We would have been
in Atlanta.
Yeah. And
there was an accidental double booking, but
what are you talking about?
Anyways, but a acquaintance friend of mine in LA texted me. He was like, "Hey, you need to come and bring Boss Man, Pastor Tim out for the Mosaic Conference."
It was kind of a spur of the moment. I already accidentally spent money on airplane tickets that was not going to be able to use for that last trip, and ended up finding a great deal for plane tickets for us to change destinations. So that's what we did. We changed destinations, kind of a last minute thing.
Yeah. It was an incredible trip.
Yeah.
But before we get into some of, this is one of those episodes where we're like, I don't know, we're going to go from here, but just chat about it. But before we do, conference aside, connections made aside, memories aside, you and I getting just bonding time aside.
Oh, yeah, we had a lot of bonding time. Let's see, how long did we were sitting on planes? For about 6 hours.
Yeah.
And on the way down, my monitor did not work. So it was like, what? How long was the flight down? Four and a half or more.
Yeah.
From the flight from Atlanta to L.A.
Yep.
And my monitor would not play movies.
Yep.
That was not a good thing.
I just want to ask.
We talked a ton.
We did.
We just talked a ton.
And I want to ask you.
Yeah.
All the conversations aside.
Okay.
Just the city of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And its surrounding areas, because you'd only been there once before. I'll never forget when I first moved here, and we were talking, and I didn't know all your different likes and preferences yet, and you're like, your first words were like, "Oh, I hate LA. It's dirty. I'll never go back there. I don't like it." And I was like, this is my boss, man. I'm not holding my heartbreak right now of what he's saying.
Fine, you're pretty extreme, but I probably did say I didn't like it that much.
So honest assessment, because it's so funny. We were going like I didn't want to be that guy. It's like, can we go here? Can we? So I tried to play.
But
cool.
you did.
No,
we did.
No. I played it very cool of like, hey, I'm along for the ride. I looked up a couple places just in case. You know, I tried to be very like didn't want to be that annoying.
You were very giddy.
But
we went everywhere you wanted to go. I did.
But when you were like, "Hey, yeah, we'll go here. We'll do whatever," I did become I tried to hide my excitement. But I was very excited.
I decided on this trip that I was going to make Russell happy and go to every place that he wanted to go.
Oh
well, is it there? I just sit around. Wherever you want to go, let's go.
Even if we did land grateful either way, but it did make me happy. So I just want to ask you, like, your new experience of LA. Tell me, like, have your thoughts changed? What did you like? What did you not like? What do you?
Yes, they did change.
Okay.
Some. I still can't stand the traffic. Like once we got into LA,
we never experienced that bad of traffic.
Okay, you're right. I was in way worse the first time I was there.
I think
so that was part of it. The first time I went, we got stuck in some traffic, like 2 hours stall going nowhere, cursing the day we were born, Job type experience.
Okay.
And
it was dramatic.
And it's a little dramatic, but you know, it was. We got to have some really cool experiences in some good places, and I think that helped redeem a good portion of it.
I love it. You love the restaurants that took you to?
There was still some.
So the first night I took you to Grand Blanco,
sad
Venice
things
Beach.
too, but yes. So we went to Grand Blanco, which was a fantastic burger.
Fantastic burger. Vibey.
Little loud, but cool vibe.
Yeah, cool
It was
vibe.
a little loud. We could not talk.
Walking distance from Venice Beach.
Yeah.
We went.
Yeah. So that was cool. We went down there. The very first night, we went and had dinner after midnight Eastern time.
That's true.
It was after
our bodies never adjusted.
Yeah.
It's so funny. Every single morning it's 4:30 a.m.
Yeah.
I can feel that you're starting to wake up. I'm waking up.
I could.
Well,
feel
then you're
it
the lightest
moment
sleeper in the world.
Okay. Anyways, so we got to visit. I still think believe it or not, I think my favorite place is probably Beverly Hills.
You loved Beverly Hills.
I don't know why. I love Beverly Hills, and I love Rodeo Drive and all the things around it, primarily because, the whole time, all I did was look at that car, look at that car. And I love cars, and there are no shortage of sports cars and high-performance cars and Bentleys and all kinds of other Lamborghinis.
Yeah.
Porsches are as common as Fords out there.
Yep.
And so I was a little bit in heaven where every time I turn around, I go, look. And you missed the one Cybertruck that we passed on the road with your head in your phone. I said, look, and I couldn't even get it out in time until it passed by. And I went, that's a Cybertruck. You went where?
Oh, did you see?
I got to see a Cybertruck on the road.
The conference we went to, Rich Wilkerson Jr. spoke.
Yeah.
So he stayed a few extra days. I don't know if you saw this, but he posted on his story before he left L.A., just spotted Elon Musk in the wild.
Oh, yeah, because he saw a Cybertruck. It might have been the same one. There's not that many, but.
But you know what? I'll be honest. I thought you liked cars. I didn't realize till this trip how much you loved cars. I mean, it didn't matter what kind of conversation we were in. I mean, there was one moment you were talking about an encounter you had with God. You were beginning to cry. And then you were like, Bugatti, Porsche, Ferrari.
I did. That wasn't true, but I did. That was the one thing I remember of the last time I was in L.A. and we were on Rodeo Drive, and there was a $2 million Bugatti out there parked on the side of the road. And we were out getting our picture taken, trying not to get too close, afraid that the owner would come out. And then sure enough, we go walking down, and what do we see? All kinds. I saw a Lamborghini that was wrapped and pretty cool. We saw a what was the blue? Why did I forget the name? It begins with an M. Why do I forget the name? You're the one who asked me. Is that your
Maserati?
Yeah. No, it was a Maserati.
Mid-engine Corvette?
No.
You were really big on your mid-engine Corvettes.
Well, it's like the poor man's Ferrari. Yeah.
No,
what was the one you asked me, and you're like, is that your favorite car, dream car ever? It begins with an M. Why have I forgotten what it is now?
You know what's funny, though?
I'm forgetting now. I want to look this up.
What I love, that if you ever want to know, like, just have a moment that defines Pastor Tim and how he thinks and, like, his level of efficiency and technicality.
McLaren, sorry.
Is I never forgot. I was like, okay, this moment perfectly describes Pastor Tim. We're walking in first night through the parking lot into the hotel, and I'm like, all right, I can tell already, just being in LA, you love cars even more than I thought. What's your dream car? And then you named something that wasn't even that, and I was like, wait, that's your dream car? What about like a Lambo? And you go, well, no, there's no way I could afford that. That's not efficient. That's not. And I was like, do you understand what dream car means?
No. Dream car for me needs to be one that I'm aspiring to get one day.
That's like a goal car, not a dream car.
Okay. Well, then, in that case,
Just
to
was-
me,
I was
my
like-
go-kart is
I was like, even in his dreams, he's
sometimes
efficient.
okay. Sometimes you have to limit your dreams
Okay.
based on reality.
I think
I'm
Ephesians
never gonna own an
3:20
island.
would disown that.
Okay. Well,
Exceedingly abundantly beyond anything you ask.
yeah.
Imagine. So
I should start asking. You're saying for a Lamborghini rather than a Corvette,
that's right.
Z06 or a ZR1 or
Hey, if you,
oh, good.
I was gonna say, if you
LT3
aim
or-
for the moon, you might still hit the stars. I don't think that's how that
I don't
goes.
think that's how it goes. I'm pretty sure that's how it goes. So, anyways,
It
it
was
was car
great.
heaven.
We went through.
It was car heaven, and I enjoyed that. And there, you see cars unlike anything you see here
Yeah.
in Columbus, and so I was a bit in heaven every time I turned
You
around.
were, and even in spite of the weather, got to drive through Malibu, walk around, drove through Calabasas. You went to Air One.
I went there.
Tell us about your Air One experience. If you're listening to this, you don't know what Air One is.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was.
Air One is the highest level bougie Whole Foods. So below it is Bristol Farms or Bristol whatever, and then Whole Foods. But it's just this really interesting, unique, and I thought you would hate it.
No.
But you loved it.
Yeah, they had
And
great
then you-
food
and
in
you bought
there. I wanted to
cupcakes.
buy a bunch of all kinds of stuff. Yeah, I didn't even eat one of them. They were the most expensive thing I've ever bought like that. It was so dumb. I'm just say everything in LA is you can just whatever you think it is here, you just about almost double it
I took you to
in
Excellent.
price. Whoa, watch your language.
I'm
What?
so sorry.
What'd you say?
It's Excellent.
Egg slot. We
It's
went
the
there.
famous breakfast
Yeah.
spot in L.A.
Yeah, that was good.
And it was really good.
It was good.
We met some friends
Yep.
that took us to Soho House,
Yep.
which overlooked the city.
That was awesome. Food was
insane.
average.
Yeah, food was
Well,
average.
we just had such good company. None of us were thinking about eating.
Yes.
So we didn't really get to really try it. But the food was okay. But the company was great. And
Yeah.
the scenery and the sights were amazing.
So let's talk about that. I think you and I would both walk away saying, okay, it was cool to be in L.A. I love it even more than you do.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, it kind of stunk because, I got family there and I was trying to see my niece, but she got sick. Didn't end up getting to see her. Found out when I landed, my sister was supposed to be visiting, but couldn't come. But I think you and I would probably both say the richest thing we took away from those few days was the connections made, the friendships made, the conversations we had.
Yeah.
Even that lunch at Soho House.
Yeah.
Meeting some old friends, some new friends, and I always believe it, and we talk about it like ad nauseum on this podcast, but I think trips like that just are an exclamation point that life really is as rich as the relationships you build and the experiences that you make. And I don't know, it just reminded me, I left, I don't know about you, but I left inspired. That sounds so cliche, but I left, there's certain conversations I left thinking, okay, this person I just talked to lives on a different plane than me. Like, I don't know if you feel that way. You're way further along than I am in every way. But like for me, I walked away from certain conversations, certain moments thinking, oh, they live in a whole nother dimension.
Yeah.
But the way I'm wired, that doesn't discourage me. It just inspires me.
Yeah.
And it just makes me want to like elevate in every way. And so I don't know. I just thought we could have a conversation. Like, we talk about it often, but how much the people we surround ourselves with elevates us. Or if we don't choose wisely, the opposite.
Yeah, the people that we got to connect with out there in LA and the church they're a part of and the podcast and other things have been very instrumental in my I would say my maturation of thinking over the last 4 years. Right? Just being around people that that think at a higher level when it comes to thinking critically about things, whether it's something spiritual or practical, business or whatever, it challenges us. And I think it's true no matter where you are. I don't think you have to travel around the country for this. I think you just have to surround yourself with people that think differently, people that have a different perspective. And I think in our country, one of the reasons why we become so partisan is that we're afraid to do that. I think partially because we're afraid that our way of thinking could be wrong. I think that's one of the things that I feel like I can see a little more clearly when I'm talking to people, when I interact with people, and I can just tell sometimes when people have a narrative that they continue to espouse that doesn't have a whole lot of nuance and depth in it. And or let me say it this way. when I talk to people, here's, I guess, the first indicator where I can see that somebody's thinking is a little shallow. This is what I think is the first indicator. When somebody has a lack of empathy, it's an indicator to me. It's a little alarm going off when I sense and empathy. I want to say not just in for somebody else, but I want to say empathy for a different position, empathy for how somebody might think that's different than them. When I see a lack of empathy, it immediately leads me to believe that there is shallow thinking. Again, I don't mean that to seem rude or insensitive, but when I think about my own thinking 5-10 years ago, and a lot of things have shifted in me over the last 5 years and beyond, I realized that everything that I thought about was something that somebody else gave me. All I would do is regurgitate the mainline voice that had been in my life for all those years. So whatever I grew up with, or whoever I'd been surrounded with, whatever my experiences were, that shaped how I think about things. And we can all think and disagree. I actually think there's something beautiful to disagreeing about things. I think the challenge that I see is when we aren't able to think at a really deep level for ourselves and come to different postulates, to come to different ideas than what we've been fed our entire lives. I think the same is true, carries over to faith. I think you can grow up in a faith environment, and because I talk to people all the time that because of how they grew up, and maybe never learning to really think deeply about things, but it may be in more dogmatic environments, or maybe in environments where they said this is the truth and that's the enemy, and to think differently, and then the moment they meet life and they begin to think a little differently, they feel like now I'm on the outside. And I think people have deconstructed their faith. They've walked away from faith, all these things, simply because they're just now thinking on a deeper level for the first time. And maybe have not even wanted to, but they don't know what to think. And so I feel like what made this trip rich, besides all the other things, I mean, the conference itself was really good. We got to do 1 out of 2 days in a night, and it was great. They did such a great job with it. That's not what I'm walking away from as the most valuable aspects of this trip for me. Our time together was a blast. We got to experience some cool things in places in L.A. We got to eat some overpriced food in L.A. We got to eat a lot of overpriced food in L.A. But what I took away is some of the relationships, getting to connect with some people that I think maybe I've admired how they think, even if I didn't agree with everything, from a distance, and getting to connect with them closer, and some new connections and new relationships that were formed that I think will carry on beyond that. And I guess the excitement of where those relationships may go might be what I came back with the most. So, I think there was something that was enjoyable for me being in an environment. And like, I think about the most impactful things from the conference itself might have been the leadership breakfast, where we got to hear John Gordon and Erwin McManus just talk about leadership, to talk about stuff, answer people's questions, to hear the way they would process and think. That and the podcast were my two favorite things from the conference. So, and again, maybe it's a little bit how I'm wired too. I love thinking and thoughts.
I think you said it beautifully. I think everything you said is very much what I felt while I was there. And it always feels weird when you meet somebody. Me and you, I mean, you're a few decades older than me, but
okay, I would do that.
but
I'm not even 1 decade older than you.
That is weird to think.
Like, we basically were born the same year.
Nah, that's not true. But I feel like and you probably feel this way too. Like, I feel like it's been a long amount of time in years past that I've realized any person you look up to from afar is very human. And not worth fanboying over, fangirling over, not worth idolizing, not worth putting on a pedestal, not worth imagining that they're perfect, or and so it's not worth it to have idols. But I do think it's okay from time to time to have heroes. And I've never been somebody that's had a lot of heroes, but
Most of your heroes are dead.
That's true.
Let's be
Most of my
honest.
heroes are dead. That's very true. But you and I are standing meeting this person that we've admired very much from afar, and it's like you always just want to be normal, and you don't want to be like, you're my hero. But it was meaningful for me to be able to tell him, hey, I've been reading your books for 10 to 15 years. Looked up to you for a long time, but somewhere back around 2017, someone sent me some of your new stuff, and at first I couldn't even tell why I kept listening and couldn't get enough. But this person just came out with something called the 7 frequencies, talking about the frequencies of communication. He even talks about the loneliest whale, that there's a frequency at which people communicate and resonate. And I said, at the time I didn't use the word frequency, but what I told people is, as profound as his content is, there's something in his spirit that resonates with my spirit, and that I can't get enough. And he would later use develop the language of frequency. But it was meaningful to be able to tell him, like, because, you go through life, and I think everybody has this in different ways, because everybody has different frequencies of what resonates with them. And this person has this rare combination of this epic, grandiose, heroic view of life and the world, like hopelessly optimistic, fiercely passionate, and it resonates with the ache inside of me. But this person's also almost like David also a poet, an extremely poetic and nostalgic and almost a romantic view of all these things as well. And there's moments in life where someone speaks in a frequency that resonates, and so it was meaningful just to. I probably stumbled through my words, but just say how much I appreciate it. But I think it also kind of goes back to, I had this image in my mind about a year ago of, when the sea rises, sea level, and how in many ways,
being like global warming.
Well,
what are you talking about? When ice melts. Oh.
Yeah. But you hear that phrase, the sea level.
Yeah.
The sea level rises. And I think, and the thing about a sea level rising is, it doesn't matter what's in there, it's going to rise with it.
Rising
as long as
tide
it's buoyant.
lifts all boats.
Yeah. Lifts all boats. So, and I really do think that is the power when you choose not just the vision and direction you want your life to go, but then you choose to surround yourself with people and voices and input that reinforces that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, I just, the image captured me just as I was just, the way my weird mind works about a year ago of, I can create the sea level of my life by the books I read, by the people I spend time with, from a distance and from up close, to what I listen to what I surround myself with. I can literally create and determine the sea level of my life that can determine how high I elevate. I mean, I also have to make choices, and I have to do my own work and think my own thoughts and make my own actions. But I don't know. I just thought it was a powerful thought that you can create your own sea level that will determine how high you rise in your gifting and your level of thinking and your level of character and your level of love. Because the people that I look up to the most, again, have these weird combinations of like the person we met was incredibly warm and kind and gracious, but also brilliant, but also blunt, but also has this depth of character. And those are all the areas of my life I want to elevate in. And so, yeah, I don't know. Have you ever thought of it like that? Or how do you think about the inputs that you're going to put in your life? How do you think about the areas of your life that you want to develop, elevate, sharpen?
For me, the areas, I feel like I grow the most when I have appropriate input, not just from what I already believe, but from things that confront what I believe. Like, I think people are afraid. I've gotten this sense when I've talked to people. I think people are afraid to listen to or engage with people who think differently. There just seems to be a fear.
Yeah.
And to me, when you are afraid, it's like we kind of challenge people from time to time. It's like, hey, if you only watch one brand of news, challenge yourself just to watch a different brand one day.
Yeah.
And most of the time, the response that I've heard from people is, I could never. I'll never watch that. I'll never listen to that. I'll never, and I think it's almost like there's this idea. It's like, why would I want to fill myself with the stuff I know is to be lies? Mm-hmm. Which I think whenever we take that posture, I think it's dangerous whenever we insulate ourselves and we've already convinced ourselves that everything that we believe is true and everything that someone else believes or a different side or different group believes is false. The moment we've landed there, I think we have stopped elevating our thinking because we have now just limited it to what we've already been told or what the narrative that's already been given to us. And I'm not saying that I think what it is there's a fear, and when there's a fear of exposing yourself to, different way of thinking, even in the church world. I think there's a lot of pastors that are afraid to even read and explore different theology than what they've been in.
Yeah.
And to me, whenever that happens, I think it reveals that what you hold to be true in the theology, I'm using this example, that you hold to be true is actually pretty thin.
Yeah.
That you're afraid that you're going to hear something that's going to screw with your entire paradigm. Mm-hmm. And I've just kind of, as I gotten older, really find inside of me a longing to really know what's true. Mm-hmm. I don't care who it comes from. I want to know what's actually true. Mm-hmm. And so I think that it's often a fear of it's going to disrupt everything that I have kind of built on. Mm-hmm. And so that's where you get the idea of deconstruction. Mm-hmm. People deconstructing is that I've built everything on something that I come to later and go, I don't know that this is all true. Mm-hmm. And so I need to deconstruct. And I think there's we talked about it before on this podcast, deconstructing your faith a little bit, and there's a way to properly deconstruct community. We've talked and done an episode on that, and I'm not even talking about deconstruction of my faith. That's not what I'm talking about. I think for me there was a point in my journey of life and adulthood where I stopped only exposing myself to what I was familiar with. Mm-hmm. And I began to just listen to different people and different thoughts and different thought leaders, even within the church world. Mm-hmm. I like to listen at times to different thought leaders and different preachers and people that have different theology when they bring it. And it doesn't scare me. I think some of that is what happens is when you do that is you start to develop a real true foundation of what you do believe.
Yeah.
And it will force you to do that.
Yeah.
And I think, and I don't know, maybe that's a little bit deeper than. We just went out to somebody that we really enjoy listening to, and we got to connect with them and the family and some friends. I mean, it might be a little bit deeper than what it really is, but I do think that what we have today in our culture is there is a segment of people that do care about thinking at a higher level. And I feel like that phrase, I've heard it so much. We've said it so much. I'm trying to think of maybe some new language for that because I think that's almost ethereal, that it's like, what do you mean thinking at a different level? Mm-hmm. I think sometimes that means slowing down to think about things, to peel back layers, to start asking more questions. Mm-hmm. Why should I believe that? Mm-hmm. Why do I hold this view? Yeah. Is there any validity to a different viewpoint? Yeah. If there isn't, is there any reason why if there isn't, why would somebody hold that viewpoint? Yep. That's where empathy comes in. How can I understand? And I think that was probably the initial part of the journey for me, was just beginning to, as I was exposed to more people in environments and hearing more stories, was what was developing in me was an empathy for people with a different perspective. Yeah. And that enabled me to really ask questions.
Yep. What did they say? You've not really listened to someone's point of view until you not only understand it but can see it, or can even argue it.
Yeah, yeah. And I can, even if I don't agree. I mean, we do it in theology all the time, and we probably spent half of our trip arguing theology.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you think people used to fly? I say I don't think so. I mean, you should hear some of the conversations that we had during our trip.
And you know what I love? I feel like me and you've been doing that since I moved here.
Yeah, we do. But that's fine. Again, it goes back to the old Proverbs, right? Iron sharpens iron. Mm-hmm. Like I want to be challenged. Again, our context and might look different. Your context may not be studying theology or be in a role where you're responsible for teaching Scripture or having leading in a faith community. It's different. So you could translate this to politics. You could translate to whatever. But in that regard, I enjoy the deep, conflicting conversations. Well, what about this passage? And yeah, but I don't know that you can build something on that.
You're both passionate.
And we go back and forth, and neither one of us want to lose the argument. And so we're going to just keep coming up with, but part of that, and we do it through a good relationship and in jest a lot of times, it's just, it helps sharpen our thinking. We're expanding. Although I think that's the big thing is expanding your thinking, even if you haven't changed like you haven't maybe changed a political point of view.
Although I felt bad one morning because me and you do have a great relationship, but I always want to, hold you in that place of honor and respect. And I never have conversations with humans before coffee. And you and I were on a 30-minute trip to the other side of Los Angeles. I mean, deep in theology, and I hadn't had sleep or coffee,
theology,
or whatever,
or if it was
anthropology
/ geology /
And all of a sudden, like, I couldn't tell if I was or if I just felt it. I was like, I feel like I'm grumpy. And I said, Pastor Tim, I need coffee.
Just confrontational. That's okay. But I think that's we need that. That's maybe the point of all this, because we've just done a bunch of rambling, but I think that for us, what a little bit of this trip was, impromptu as it was an opportunity to go and meet and connect with some people that I think have inspired us to think more critically, to think differently, to think about political issues, social issues, scriptural issues in a different frequency than maybe we would have grown up with. And, I think sometimes people hear that and go, oh, my gosh, Pastor Tim's deconstructing his faith. No, I'm not. But what I am doing and have been doing for years is peeling away things that have been things that I have taken by assumption, picked up by environment that maybe I haven't deeply thought through. And I think it's shaped me, or I feel like I still hold a lot of the same key values that I've had. If anything, like I said, a lot of times I've discovered that I have a deeper empathy for people who think differently than me, even though it hasn't convinced me to change what I think overall in that area, whatever it might be.
Sure.
But I feel like it makes me a better human.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, I think it makes me a better human. I'm not going to just hear every single political or newsworthy story. An immediate response is going to come from a socioeconomic persuasion, a political persuasion, that I want to be able to read through it and recognize a variety of things. Who's writing this article? What is their political bent? Okay, I understand that. What truth are they trying to tell? Is there any truth in that? I think there's a lot of different ways you can learn to absorb information through a filter that exposes things to a higher level of thinking instead of just be a base level of thinking. And literally, I don't want to think along party lines.
Right.
And I'm not even saying that to be political. I'm just saying that in general. Pick your group.
Yeah.
I don't want to think along party lines.
Yep.
I want to think deeply for myself with Scripture, because I believe in it. I with God, I want to think deeply about things. And here's what I think. I think any level of thinking that doesn't lead you to becoming a better human, we can remove religion.
Yeah.
We can remove God from the story. Any level of thinking that doesn't lead you to being a better human, to caring more about people, loving people better, treating people better, having more character, living a moral life, doing good in this world, living with deep values. Any thinking that doesn't move you more toward that, I'm going to argue is probably not good thinking. It's just it's a base level of thinking.
Yep.
And I feel like it's so hard because we talk about thinking kind of almost in this way, and it's almost hard to translate it into something that people can. The only thing I would say is just make sure you continue to surround yourself with people that challenge you. Yep. That's all I can say.
Yep. And speaking of thinking and iron sharpens iron, there's another Russell you've been listening to. So you want to...
You mean because I sent you a video from Russell Brand?
You've sent a few videos.
I've sent you 2 videos. I don't really follow him, but they for some reason popped up in my feed about certain things, and I find him to be a fascinating individual, highly intellectual, and somebody that forever was considered to be very, very far left and would say that the left moved really far, and he finds himself in the middle politically.
Yep.
And not a person of faith, but I find him very fascinating to listen to.
Yeah.
I don't listen to him often. I've just watched a few videos from him.
Yeah.
And I just
Yeah.
I know that there would be a myriad of areas that I think we would 100% disagree on,
Yep.
ethically and everything. He does not have a faith, doesn't claim to have a faith. I don't think he would share a lot of the same values that I have, maybe even some of the same political values that I have. But it doesn't mean that I'm not just like when I listen to him talk, I listen to somebody who is really wrestling on an intellectual level with where our world is and where it's going, and the political and social ramifications for what's happening right now in this cultural moment.
Yeah.
And so I think you can be challenged by people like that.
Sure.
And you may find that you go, I kind of agree with that statement he just made.
Yep.
Shockingly.
Well, I just want to end by saying, speaking of heroes, you are an inspiration. And
why am I? Because I went to Eggslut with you?
No, for 1,000 reasons. You know this. The way you think, the way you work, the way you process. You just. We were talking. I was poking fun, hopefully in a respectful way, that you have buttons you press to wake up and go to sleep because you have more energy, drive, work ethic, and curiosity than almost anybody I've ever met. And I told you this, but I just want to say this publicly as your friend. Even, I mean, we have different dynamics of our relationship, but even as a friend, it made me happy. There's a time we were even at lunch where you're beginning to open up and share ideas and watching people around the table take notes. And I love that because I think your genius is so understated, and I think more of the world needs to hear your voice. And there needs to be more of Tim Moore's voice echoed in the world. So
I don't know about that, but that's pretty nice of you. Thank you.
So
feelings mutual.
It was beautiful time together.
Yeah,
and
we had a great time together.
Yeah,
and I think also it was good to sometimes to break your norm.
Yeah,
and to kind of break your routine a little bit, and to get out and just enjoy and be able to kind of connect with some people. Made some great friends along the way. That was fun.
It's great.
It is weird though. It's funny. Just we can close with this. I mean, in our world there is celebrityism. And you go to LA and there's probably celebrities all over. We didn't really see any, except who did we see in the church?
Several at Mosaic.
Well, okay. I mean, I meant like real world celebrities. One of them would be from that was there that I didn't even realize. I'm talking to one of the pastors that was there, and he's. Again, what I was trying to say is there is like real celebrities, and then we say sometimes in the church world there's church celebrities. Whether they try to be not, they're just people that are influential in church circles.
Yeah, I'd say there's a few. There was a few there at Mosaic,
and there's a few there, and some of them were speaking, and we had the opportunity to meet and talk to a lot of them. And I'm talking to one of them, and just briefly, who just got done speaking, and I won't say his name, but I was talking to him for about a minute. We just met him. We're talking to him. And connecting, and just literally almost mid-sentence, he just stops and he looks over as a guy walking by, and he just totally ignored us and grabbed this guy in front of him and started talking to him.
And I told you.
Then we and then the best part is like, okay, I think we're done talking here, and we walked away. And you go, do you know who that was? And I said, no. Like I don't even care, but I said no, and he was like, that was Jerry Lorenzo, Fear of God, and so he would probably be the one that would probably be the most well known outside of church circles alone that was there at Mosaic. It was Jerry Lorenzo. I was like, oh, no wonder he stopped talking to me and started talking to him. I probably would too. It was pretty funny.
And John Gordon was there.
Yeah, John Gordon. And I really, we had we won't say anything about that. We had a fun conversation and got to listen into Erwin and John Gordon and their friendship before the leadership breakfast and the night before, and watch them go back and forth. And that was just a awkward but fun moment. So there were some great moments, and getting to meet some people that I think I would say at least people that we have admired and learned from a distance. We got to meet them, and they were very cordial. Their family,
kind, just gracious.
Just really great people, and really almost act like they know you exist and cared.
Yeah.
That was interesting. You know what I mean? That felt like that from them. I was like, wow, they really they're genuine.
Well, and I even share with one of them, which is funny. You start sharing your thoughts, and like, they don't care what I say matter. Yeah. But I was just trying to to share kindly. One of the things I appreciated the most about the conference is there was this weird mixture of it was epic, excellent, incredible, mind-blowing, but also very intimate. I mean, the Mosaic space is not an enormous room.
No.
And there's conferences you go to that they'll use family language.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that's like a fam. But this was the first, people flew in from 17 countries to be there. This is the first, mega scale conference I've ever been to that felt like family.
Yeah.
Nobody was hiding in green rooms.
Yeah.
Nobody.
Well, only one of our friends was. Whenever he could.
It's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I love that. I felt like people that you could hear from, how they'd talk and think, were accessible. Yeah. And they just stick around. Anybody can walk up to them and have a conversation. That also, we both talked about that. That impressed us.
Yeah.
I like that. I like when people don't act bigger than they should.
Yeah. It's funny because we would never even think of it like this, but we've had people like at our church say, I love that, you and Pastor Tim actually are in the foyer. I'm like, where in the world else would we go to?
I'm not hiding.
No.
I like people too much.
The best part about
I get bored.
Church is a community. The best part's the community.
Is. My favorite part.
So
it was
anyways,
good.
So I don't know if this, it was just fun to relive and
we'll get back to real topics.
We'll get back. Hey, but it's real enough to say that you can literally change your life by changing your seat level and changing what you surround yourself with. And we live in the day and age, we talked about it. You and I got done with one conversation. We were like, we could have sat there all night long and just eaten up every word. And I mentioned to you, I'm like, this reminds me of the story of where Queen Sheba went around the world to sit at the feet of Solomon just to listen to his wisdom. We live in the day and age where mostly for free, you have immediate access at your fingertips to all the greatest geniuses and thinkers of the world. And most of us just entertain ourselves to death with Netflix instead. And so I don't know. You could right now, in whatever field you're in, I mean, take church aside, whatever field you're in, whatever passion you're in, whatever, I believe everybody listening to this right now is put on earth for a reason. Yeah. And you could right now, today, access the greatest thinker in your field and be mentored by them tonight. We take for granted.
Albert Einstein?
This alive. Or even Albert Einstein. Which it was fun to hear the Einstein quotes that were thrown out in the conversation. Anyways, all right. Thanks for joining us for this week of the X Podcast. Until next time, we'll see you then. Hey guys, it's Russ. Thanks so much for listening. We really believe if we can get around tables instead of behind screens, if we can talk to each other instead of at each other, we can make the world better. To help us do that, here are a few things you can do to help. First, if you haven't yet, leave a review on Apple or Spotify and hit subscribe on YouTube. This helps more than you know. Also, if you have been impacted by the community out of which this podcast comes, that's X Church. Maybe you're local or you've been touched by the messages and impact across the country, even the world. I want to encourage you to support this work. A powerful life principle is to invest in the people and places that invest in you. And so I want to invite you to do that right now by going to thex.church/give. You can give a one-time small gift, a sacrificial gift, or even become a recurring partner. Together, let's keep elevating the conversation, thinking higher, loving deeper, and making the world better. Cheers.